So, rather than going through all the theory and whatnot, we'll start with the typing and see how far we go and try and bring out the bits of theory as we're going through it. So, if everyone can be in a root folder, which we will create our sample app in. Incidentally, so before we start, has everyone got Visual Studio Code and Ironide and .NET Core 2 installed?
Right. If someone with a computer looks to the left and someone without a computer looks to the right.
Okay, so the first thing is Fable and Elmish. So Fable is the Babel compiler, which will take your F# and translate it into JavaScript. Elmish is the F# interpretation of Elm, which is a pattern. It's kind of a bit like Redux, but Elmish. So let's.
They decided not to go with phlegm then, I think. Normally put an F in. Never mind.
I see where you went there. That's very good. Right. So the first thing, what we're going to do is we're going to generate this project from the .NET templates. So the first thing we need is the template itself. So let's install the template. So if you type in that.
Yeah, so the standard. Anyway, get your .NET tool. Did I have to install something to have this?
.NET?
I've got it. I meant the template. Or is that going to create a new template?
That's actually going to install the
Install
template itself. So once we've run this, we'll have access to the template to then generate a project from it.
Ah, so Isaac installs it.
Yes.
Okay. So it's like a registry of these templates or something. Is
Yeah. They're all on GitHub.
Okay.
Templates.
So we do any command prompt, so start run cmd.
Oh, there it is then.
Oh, you can do it from inside of here.
It's just
If you go command prompt there, you can type in that's.
So if we run
Yeah, this one is-
that all goes off to NuGet and does stuff. And you can see we've got Fable, Elmish, React up there, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff that I've.
Dash R. .NET News.
Mike, what did you type? I was doing something else. Excellent.
That's it.
I didn't realise it was that easy to grab the new templates to install.
Yeah,
Probably
it's-
like some central repo, but .NET new
It's a GitHub repo that I can't remember the name, but yeah, basically, if you've got a template, you send it to them as PR and it's available. It's pretty straightforward now. Let's create a project. So, if you're in a root directory where we can create a project from here, what you now need to do is create a new project based on that template. So .NET, new, Fable, Elmish, React, and if you -n and then a name of Fable something or other, then that will create the project with all the files for you. Good stuff. Okay, so a bit more command line before we go back to the editor. So if you cd into your folder, so have we got that far? So you'll see we've got a various array of files in here. So we've got Packet .NET files, and we've also got NuGet, not NuGet, sorry, NPM JSON files as well. So first off, let's do an NPM install. That will bring back all the front-end dependencies.
Right, you just dot and start.
Yep.
So what dependencies does it have at this point?
It's got a whole bunch of stuff on Webpack and
I can see.
things.
SAS. Obviously.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it leans really heavily on the whole Node ecosphere.
Mm.
So, is everyone NPM installed? Right, so now for the back-end side of things, .NET Restore.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
Project not fun.
So you still have what you mean.
I like NPM install.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so at this point, we should have a fully working Fable template project.
If you just,
So that one.
what was the
New.
Elmish template, the Fable Elmish, yeah. So, thank you.
So has everyone got VS Code and i9 installed?
Yep.
Okay, let's do that then. So from that, I generally find just code dot in this folder should work.
Yeah.
Don't sound too keen.
So that brought up our example project. And the README actually just pretty much
Oh, the
goes through
translated
everything
bit,
that I've just spoken about, but with other things as well.
It's not very responsive, I think. It might be better to update from actual notes.
Right.
Or unless you want to use
Do you like the installed as a markdown preview?
I do. In fact, I want to try it.
Fix back out there with
It's
the.
built
I think
in
it's
the
the
file.
icon over there.
If you just go,
So
Open the command palette.
put a space there, so there's obviously
And then-
space.
No, I don't need to.
if you open the command palette, just P or whatever it is, and then just a markdown,
Oh yeah, cool.
open preview.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a template or a template project. So I guess the next thing to do will be to see if we can actually create a web application from this. So if we so we can either carry on inside the separate command line prompt that we had, or we can open a terminal window in code. So I'm going to open a window in code. There's the
Control the posture.
screen, because why not?
Windows is control period.
You can change it to PowerShell if you want.
There we
You can't change it to
So,
PowerShell.
so the first thing you need to CD into the source folder, like so.
Oh yeah.
I just noticed how cool your
Sorry,
Z-shell is.
Oh, it's Windows, gosh.
Just noticed how cool your Z-shell.
I don't know this prompt.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Why would you not use Z-shell?
I do use Z-shell. I'm using Z-shell. That's even better than my
Oh,
power.
Windows, I'm on Windows.
Check it out.
it's CDF, I think it's
Oh, sorry, I'm not in there.
CDF, yeah, there you go.
I don't know, there are Windows ones.
Okay, how we all doing?
Investigation.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not using
So, let's make magic happen
Right,
then.
right, yes.
Oh, really?
Oh,
You're
.NET,
using Mac.
Mm.
Oh, right.
Fable, and then npm dash start.
There we go.
Oh, right.
So what this is doing now is it's going through the Fable project that we've just created. It's compiling all the bits and pieces, and touch wood, at the end of it, it will spit out a webpacked artifact that we can hook up to through Node. So, as you can see, it's saying compiled successfully. We shall take it at its word and open the browser and see how it looks.
So I notice it's .NET Fable. Is that, so obviously there's normally run and test.
Is that already running?
Is that just,
Yeah, I
is it,
think
are you able to add in extra targets for .NET Core?
I don't know.
Ah, yeah, I should
I should look into it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you mean, sorry?
That's
Oh, yeah,
when,
it's
obviously normally you've got .NET Run, .NET
cool.
Test, .NET Build, .NET
Ah,
Restore.
right,
But this was .NET Fable.
This is a really interesting one. Well, it's quite interesting. I thought it was interesting. So, if we go into source, this is one of the cool things about .NET Core itself. Here you go. So, in the packet preferences, one of the things that it pulls in is the .NET-Fable, and that is an exe command that it can basically run. So, it's basically where you've got the .NET verb, it then falls through to that. In the same way that, say, like you were using AWS, you would do .NET Lambda, for example.
It is right.
Did I miss a step? Whilst trying to catch up.
It's
You
really
missed it.
heavy.
I missed it. There we go. Someone was tried to do
So when it tries to read JSX files, it compiles them.
Oh wow, and then converts it immediately into a Webpack object. So you never
Today,
actually see
there
the
we
file,
go.
can't you?
And the other thing that it's doing as well
Oh,
is it's got a
well.
watch on there. So as you go in and change your F#, it will do a hot swap in the browser itself. Talking of which, let's just try that. This is what it looks like. So, that is the example Fable app that we've just created. So, as you can see, there is a whole bunch of stuff in there, which is kind of interesting.
Oh wait,
I've done double click.
So, has everyone got the example page up?
Oh wait, no.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay, so shall we briefly go through the layout of the files then? Okay, so basically how it's laid out is it follows the let me just double check the model view update pattern. I think that's what it is, which is the which comes from Elm. So it's basically an homage to that. So it's the model view update style of architecture. And essentially you start off with a model, and that model then informs the view, and then immutably we can update that, which generates a new model, which then generates a new view. So we tend to have a state which is the initial state and how we update the state. So that's to do with where we start from and how we mutate it. We then have the types, which are our model. So as you can see here, we've got a model and we've also got message. Message we'll come back to in a little while. It's very important. And then we've got global, because where would you be without global? And here we have the app, which is where we start. You can see here we've got the SAS files. So one of the things that it does is the template will take all your SAS and webpack it up and mash it all together. So yeah, we can pull all of that into your deployable application in a fairly straightforward, simple fashion. So, has everyone got a working example Fable page? Okay, in that case, let's do our own. So, in the first instance, let's just delete the bits that they've put in so we can replace it with ourselves. So, let's get rid of counter. And home. Info.
Weird function keys. You can't get it the right way around.
And navbar. And as you can see, the Fable Watcher is having an absolute hissy fit here
It's a terrible thing.
because it can't find bits. So let's just drop into the project file as well and just get rid of these bits also. Okay.
What's that? Best project.
So info account.
Okay.
Okay, so has everyone zapped those folders and bits and updated their project file? So,
Sorry, Michael, is there anything above that, or is that all we should have?
that
There is things above it.
Yeah, that's,
yeah.
so it's just the view that get,
Yeah, we just get rid of all the subfolders,
yeah.
and then we're going to just use these existing files and fiddle with them. So, the first thing, let's amend our types here. So we're just going to do something nice and simple. So we will have a model of just an int. I hope this works. So yeah, so we will make this so who is familiar with discriminant unions? Anyone not familiar with discriminant unions?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be fine with it. No, so essentially a discriminant union is a glorified enum. That's probably not how you describe it academically. But just imagine it as an enum where you have the various different identifiers, but as well as just that identifier, you can also attach other values to that as well. So say, for example, what we're going to do here is we're going to do of int so what this is saying here is when we match on our increment, it also comes with an integer value, and when we match on our decrement, that also comes with an integer value. And let's actually just change this as well. Let's make it a bit more recordy. So, again, this is how you would define a record in F#. A record, think of it as being like a class, but without the inheritance and methods, and it's more of a data type than what you would think of as an object. Okay. So let's do the state. So the state is where we manage the mutation, or, well, it's functional, so obviously it's not mutation, that would be a bad thing. But say, for example, in here, I'll just talk you through the typings, and then we'll talk through what it actually means.
Have you got some fancy extension on there, like a message model, like
What?
colour lens style thing above the. Above that?
You get that. That's just part of Ironide.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. What's I know?
Did you not read the prerequisites?
I came very unprepared. I decided at 5 o'clock I was coming.
That's what
Just
I
do a
like to
search
do.
on three things.
To type the next bit.
All three of them. Chocolate.
I'm not that sure about it. This makes very little sense.
I thought I was getting used to it, but it's making sense to me as well.
Came in because I want to believe.
So I'm just on increments.
I think we'll go.
Yeah. Right now I've got red squigglers. I didn't have them before. Fancy shit. They're under edge now, that's right.
No, it's the same, but it's minus. It's
Okay, so have we all got this far? Have we got red squiggles?
Yes.
yes.
Why not red
I've
squiggles?
got
Oh,
green
well,
one,
no,
no,
no, just got red text at the bottom, not squiggles.
Okay, good. So, pay attention. So this is the state
Is that your
File.
final ligature? Is it supposed to be?
So we've got our init method.
Non-equals.
This is our initial state. This is our starting point. If this was a link aggregate, this would be our seed. So from here, you can see we're returning a tuple. The first bit of the tuple is the model, which in this case is just a count with 0, and a command.none. We will come to commands in a minute. As you can see from our update, all we do with our update is we get the message. So if I flick back to our types, you can see here we've got a type message, and then if we go back to the state again, we are essentially here doing a switch on the enum, but it's a match and it's functional, so it's a bit more funky. But essentially what we're doing is we're matching on increments, and our inc takes the value that's been passed into it, and similarly with dec. If you see this construct here with the squiggles and the width, what that is doing is it is creating a new model of type model with an updated count, and everything else is left the same, which in this case is nothing. But if you did have other fields on that, they would remain the same.
It is very similar to Redux, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Knowing a bit better about Redux, but nothing about this. It's kind
They
of all
are-
making sense.
They are very, very similar
Yeah.
patterns.
So
But your actions and your reducers, but
Yeah.
It's just a sort of state,
Yeah,
What did you call it?
a state machine.
A state machine.
as we go through your white state machine. Okay, so we've got the 2 legs out of the stool. Let's do the third one. So, it being React, we're all about how does it look. So let's do some of that. So if you go to the app FS, which is this one here, you can see we've got a whole bunch of stuff in there. What we're going to do is we're going to replace our root function. So we can, perfect. No,
Okay.
that's not perfect. It's not that old.
damn Apple and never-ending supply of peripherals.
So, okay, so we can delete that. We want to
Okay.
keep root.
There's no way to use HTML in this, I take it. Not directly, but I mean, there's no way you can have templates or anything.
Not as it stands, no. What we have is even better.
That is not better.
Right.
I'll
Let's
tell you
get a
now.
shot of that as well. That's what I mean.
Having done some React and Redux, I'm never doing it this way.
Right, so is anyone familiar with Haml? It's a
bit, yeah.
It's a templated view engine from a little while back. It's not a million miles away from this actually, so yeah, this isn't actually that far out there. But basically, how it works is we define our React view as a set of arrays. But because they're arrays in F# and they look very lightweight, it actually just looks like markup. Okay, so div. As you can see here, we've got some insight telling us it's a React element with some properties, which is kind of what we hope for from a Reactor. So that's our first array. So in that first array, which we've left as empty, that's where we would place our HTML attributes. And we have a second array, and in here we will put the element children. So, okay. Now, let's get a bit closer. So, we've defined a button with no attributes as yet. Let's give it some content.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Has everyone got that far?
That's fine.
And let's put another button in. Okay, has everyone got that far?
This looks very much like giraffe or what's it called? No, it's gone. Yep.
Okay, so we've got some buttons in here. So this is a view for our model. Let's actually display the model itself.
No.
You just got a bit of everything, don't you?
It makes me happy every time.
It's like, oh yeah, you can feel like a C developer with Sprint Dev, and then you can feel like a Python dev with dollar variable.
So, so this has suddenly got a little bit more F-sharpy here. Can everyone see what our div is doing?
So it's got no attributes. You got the model.
Yep.
Counts, and you're piping that into the string formatter,
Yep.
and then you're piping that into a function called str.
Yep.
Is that the constructor for a string, or is that a
Yep.
that's-
As we can see from the lines above and below, it just takes a string, and that's a text that,
Oh, does it make a text node in HTML?
yeah. So, at this point, let's do something clever. Well, quite clever anyway.
Click on it.
So,
Long click.
when we click stuff, who can guess what this does?
I wouldn't want it.
It's a function which takes one argument, but we're not assigning it to we're not winding it up, it's making it
See, yeah, that's good.
And that's it.
Something's not quite right there. It looks too brackety. Hang on, I'm just going-
There, you've got rid of the square bracket at the beginning. There should be
Oh,
one.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. And one F.
It's because it keeps being helpful. I'm not expecting it. It's okay.
And after dispatch, there should
Being
be
a complete
Yeah.
F sharp lever,
Three,
I have forgotten what the difference is between the
and a regular
No, I think that's it.
No.
dash triangle and the pipe
Oh,
triangle.
from the beginning of
Concrete, different.
so it's.
That's a
Oh,
I thought you
Oh,
was
yes,
trying
I see.
to.
No, sorry.
Dash triangle.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
No, this one here.
Yeah.
No, maybe not just the door.
Oh, hang on.
Any questions about how the F sharp itself is laid out?
I think I
Is
figured
there
out
one way
one.
incrementing two that decrementing one, or is that just the way it's come out?
No, it's a 2 and a 1 just to show that there's a difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from different. And then doing the 2 lines before, but they were just that's not more like a switch there.
So if we save all the things now, hopefully,
No, still failed to compile. What's going on there? So
So
presumably, although we've got the watch thing going, when it compiles, it's just
That's an argument.
obviously knowing nothing about Webpack. It's ready to just be picked up and put up and served somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
Does it doesn't, it's not
It's kind of
doesn't
exposing
run
to us some
through
function that
you
Sharp and to
no, you basically just do a .NET Fable build, I think, and it just gives you a whole bunch of static content that you can just like stick in S3 or whatever.
Nice.
You don't need to publish Webpack.
It's my Windows.
The
No.
bundle,
Starting to
the
use
bundle
React.
JS is quite big,
Yeah, React's
so
great.
presumably the build version of that's a lot smaller.
One of the, I'm not quite sure what the tweaks are, but one of the good things about this is that it does tree shaking. So because it knows where all the dependencies are, because it's all statically typed, it can go through everything and say, well, I need this and I don't need that, so I will not include that in my JavaScript exit.
Is that something you need to do manually if you're
Yeah, as well.
saying
Yeah,
it's writing
yeah.
React
So I
yourself?
just hadn't deleted everything. There was another
I
line
don't
there.
know.
Rather
You
than-
can
Oh, yeah,
destroy
that one.
components in React. But I don't know very much about it. to be
Yeah, I think it's, you know, when you have your modules and you have your module export, things that are exported, it knows whether they're used or not. And because of the way that Fable handles F-sharp modules and maps them over to ES6 modules, it has a fairly good idea about what's used and what isn't. So it's much better at tree shaking than if you were just writing JavaScript might be.
Wow, very good.
Gosh.
Well, that's something to do.
So has everyone got it compiling?
And I've just switched back to the browser and it's already there.
Yeah, it's
Oh, wow, so what?
if you make a change in the F-sharp file, it will pick it up here and force it up to your browser, so it's all kind of very hot.
Oh gosh.
Here we go. So is everyone? Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
And
Apply to them one, just like expected.
Yeah.
It's magic.
ship it.
I just wanted a PDF of React tools installed, like so you can like it. You can
Oh,
get
yeah,
like
I
React
don't.
tools to Chrome.
And also, I haven't tried this before, but let's see what happens.
Front end's been done by computer science guys.
Unless there's some
Oh yeah.
code.
Shall I? Where
Yeah,
were
we
we?
don't
Ah,
have bits and
must have thrown another button.
Actually, let's not do that just yet. So, because it might not work, and if it does work, it kind of muddy the waters. So, let's just go through what this is actually doing. So, you've got some markup here. It's actually expressed as an F-sharp array, but it looks reasonably kind of markup-y. You do a click, And what it's doing here is it's taking our increment and decrement, complete with their value, and pushing them into this dispatch, which is a function that we add in here. And what that is doing is when we click that, the dispatch, it's basically putting it on a queue, which is then a series of commands, which are then picked up and processed. So when we click that, we get an increment 2 or decrement 1, and that goes into a pipe which is then picked up by the dispatch handler, which will then pick it up on the pick it up here in our updates. So that message will be our increment 2 or our decrement 1. That will return our mutated model with our command and restart the whole cycle. Actually, yeah, let's have a go with the thing of which I spoke.
What are you going to do? Throw in a reset or something?
No. Well, actually, that's not a bad idea. But no.
So we can just.
Oh, multiple messages.
Okay. And in here, oh, interestingly, you can see here,
Oh, nice.
it's saying we've not allowed for everything. This is different. If you were using a switch in C#, it wouldn't care. But here, with the pattern matching, it says you have to account for everything. And you can see even when we build it here, it's not happy about it.
Who's the different wiring up to call this update? What is that? We don't see it anymore.
Is it like that?
So that increment just creates that unit. So it's a dispatch, which just it's just a function, but it doesn't say what
Well, it's a different.
Here we go, CMD.
Interesting. Yeah, that Mac program in it update routes, probably tying them all together. That was, I think there was in somewhere else. So two of them are there, and then routes,
Charge that for
You can do that.
GA type 4 rollback.
Wow, It's a sharp for
Yes. But it's also warning in here because it thinks that it should be over here to make it clearer that it's
is that
actually
code 2?
here.
It's happy with that. No, happy with that.
Okay.
This is further over here because it's
no,
because it wants it to be ahead of this one here to make it clear that it's sort of sub
Yeah,
part of that one.
Yeah, okay.
So you can cheat by shifting this down
Yeah.
Mike,
a notch.
Mike, in the
Yeah.
type, what was the 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing of, or was it just?
So it didn't have any variables at all. It was just
Right.
just a thing.
Change them, take them.
Oh, right, doesn't have it now. I see.
It's
It's got to be
Command.
Yeah, what is that? So it's batching.
Yeah.
It's batching those two commands.
Oh, could you go
But
back
it's
to
not-
your other
Incorrect
code file?
indentation. Why? It's like-
state,
States.
please.
What does that mean? Is that because you're not batching?
It's not happy with my indentation.
So what's
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what else is doing.
Temp funk. Attach.
Am I going to this week as well?
Sync. Function. Message and promise.
So if you wanted
Yeah.
to
Promise.
But like a-
What?
console log, maybe at the start of the update message, or the update method, is there a way of doing that? Can you just print line and it converts them to console logs, or?
Yeah, in fact, in the app itself,
So
you've got this debugger thing here,
Ah.
which will also, as it's going through, just as it's trundling through, will kind of log the debug information as well.
Oh, so if we open the console, we should see some stuff.
Yes, yeah,
If
absolutely.
the change of model and then further commands. So you can sort of change
Okay.
commands together.
How are we all doing with that?
Usually doesn't happen in this instance.
I haven't tried this before, so I don't know if it works. It should do.
I was wondering about those commands, like command.num before, thinking whether they were the actions.
Yeah, the things that go onto the queue that says do this, do that, do the
Yeah,
other.
the action that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that reduces
So
it
it's
to
on
the
Control-
state state.
Control S
things
and
like
And
that.
there's lots of different types as well.
So
So there's no
So
going
let's
into
just
those.
see.
That might be enough.
This one.
I don't know.
Okay,
Uh,
so it's-
where is it? States.
That's
Doing
way
it
worse
scratch
than
here
Python
is-
indentation.
like-
Python
Oh
indentation
yes,
says
the message goes on the queue.
to go
Yeah.
off
Scratch from here.
Yeah.
before it stops. Yeah.
That's message.
And I think that's what we're doing here, we're putting more
Those are
things
three
on the
options.
queue.
Okay.
So we're putting living room and the
Save
desktop
that.
on the
Whereas
queue.
these don't put anything in the queue.
Two steps forward, one step back.
Part of the warning for,
Oh, so do I need to put another button in? Yeah, I do.
I'd also say,
Okay.
Is everything else saved? I guess it's
No.
that.
Like,
Because obviously we're doing something quite simple here, we're just actually,
yeah.
but I guess you could actually
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
batch up a bunch of commands or
And promises.
messages, promises
Apparently,
even,
yeah.
if you've got things which are going to happen, but
Unless,
Yeah. I'm just trying to imagine what that code would look like.
maybe that's.
But I imagine it'd be fine.
because-
Like, I guess if you tried it, it would get easy.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and that needs to go on to dispatch.
Right, cool. So, has everyone got this
And
far?
again, but we never
Not quite.
Quite.
dispatched it, so
Oh, hold
it
on.
should be fine.
It's
Scrap
two
or warning?
step, one step.
Pilot.
Yeah, if you just do a save all, the watcher should pick it all up.
So what's it this?
It's supposed to be this side of that.
Incomplete pattern matches, what have I missed on state?
Main
Yeah, we got that as well.
But it clearly is,
Yeah.
it's covered. So we noticed there was a command of promise.
There's a command of promise, which is a JavaScript promise. So if you are hooking promises from third-party JavaScript libraries, that works a treat. There's also modern async, so if you have an F# computation expression, it can use that. Yeah, it's quite rich in that respect. So it does play very nicely with third-party libraries, though.
How do you do JavaScript alert on a button click?
Sorry?
If you want to pop up like a JavaScript alert from a button click, can you do that?
Yeah, it does have access to the kind of core
Transcaling
things.
us, or we
I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but yeah, it does.
Control C or something.
Or you could just do a React kind of modal and just do it that way.
And start.
Okay. Has everyone got that far? And should I go through, so we did something a bit funky here in the states, so should I describe what the commands are actually doing here?
Go on, you've got half an hour to fill, so I might as well.
Well, I've not got to the good bit yet.
Oh,
Or should we take 5 and then come back to it after a break?
people want to stretch legs? Yeah.
Okay, so who is familiar with Bulma?
With what?
Bulma.
Bulma.
It's kind of, it's a bit of a bootstrappy type thing where it's basically lots of components that do componenty type stuff.
So it's like Twisted Bootstrap, only not as heavy.
Yeah, it does seem to be a lot more lightweight. And it's modern and it's a framework and it's based on Flexbox.
Ticking all those boxes.
Oh yeah,
Not too modern.
in a really nicely rendered font. So,
That's what's been sold.
so yeah, that's the usual stuff.
That's what I get.
This has now been mapped onto Fable and it's called Can You Believe It Fulma.
Wow.
I
Where
don't
do they
know
get
how
the
they
names
think of these names. Is that it? No, that's not. I can't remember what the okay. Right, okay, so the next thing to do is just install the things. Right, okay, so if you open the FS Proj, I tried this yesterday and it didn't quite work, so let's see what happens. Right, okay, so Control Alt P and packets, add NuGet package to current project.
How do you get those?
It's a current project. So you get 600.
Yeah, so you've got to open up the proj file first, otherwise it does nothing, which drove me mad. For a little while I could not understand why it just would not add it in.
Yeah, that's one of the little quirks.
I never realised that.
It's so annoying because you start off and you're like, well, sometimes it adds in, sometimes
Yeah,
it doesn't. And I don't understand. And sometimes you just have to go in and add it yourself. And then you go, oh, you're meant to have the project open.
That makes sense. Yeah, well.
So type in Fulma.
How's it spelled?
Fulma.
Doesn't
So
get as many modules again.
has that done it for everyone?
Well, it did
Or is
something.
it still a
Oh,
work in
is that
progress?
It did something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see if Ionide has picked it up yet. So if you do an open and Fulma.
So that's on what?
Oh, it has.
Hasn't for me yet.
No, it's the same.
Oh no, it hasn't quite for me either. Got a red line.
No.
Is it a case difference? Because it's falling a little off, isn't it? And then you get packages. Oh, right.
That's good.
Did you go in back in this again or something?
Be a little window.
No, I'm still not happy with that. So what I had to do, so this is just on Mac, so I don't know how this will work on, actually it should be more or less the same. So if you go to your terminal and do, if you're on Mac, do mono, and if you're not on Mac, don't. Packet exit, add Fulma -- project, source, and then the name of your repo, like that.
What is mono?
Mono is the original open source port of .NET, which has now been subsumed by Microsoft and is now I'm not quite sure where it's still the open source version. Well, it's one of the open source versions now.
Yeah.
But,
It's the
but it's
Linux
very
one.
available on school.
I wonder if it's because it's
But they keep it in line with the official .NET frameworks now, don't they? Because it used to lag behind a bit, but now they do them in lockstep, I believe.
As far as I think the packages go, they're the same ones.
Yeah.
And
things like
It works at Microsoft, I know. That's why it's a lot
Just
better.
do
yeah,
so.
well, it's a Microsoft
And
product.
Former
Yeah.
to project.
Oh, right.
Miguel
Fable
works
thing.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's still not worked. So you've embraced it a bit more.
So how's everyone doing with that?
Still no.
Did you
The thing is,
run
it
that
may not
command?
run against the
Yep.
project file. though.
Did you reload your
yeah,
window?
that's not there, is
Well,
it?
no.
Try and reload the
Probably easier
window.
for the
Yeah.
reference.
It's not
Rather than you get or something.
So it
But
will
it's compiled now, so it's
dash
working.
starts.
It's just IntelliSense going.
it's a bit weird, but okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is all this? That's just a word.
Right, okay, so making the assumption that this works then. Because, you know,
Take it off.
has it actually worked for anyone in terms of being able to open
Oh,
the form?
one wrong place. isn't it?
Well, it's compiling now
What-
without complaining. So
Do we see
it
anything
seems to work.
different?
The IntelliSense is still screwed, but
No.
That's kind of a good thing.
yeah.
17, right, no, can't touch.
Sure, something cool, Mike.
Okay. If I must. So,
With your final 10 minutes.
Oh no.
I won't forget the clock. What are we going to do?
Something cool.
Right, okay, well it's all in there, so that's good. So, if we go back here, and I'll add some other bits in. Never guess where I'm cutting and pasting from. Right.
Got an extra full stop there.
Yeah.
It's yours complete. So you have some autocomplete, even though it thinks it's not there. It quite happily autocompletes it.
It's available.
Your arrow keys aren't where mine
Formal layouts. Oh yeah, okay, well that's cheating. You're copying and pasting, which we're not able to do.
Hello.
And you're doing it from a diff file.
So this replaces all the button stuff we had before.
Yeah, so essentially what we're doing here is we're using the Fulma component, which is basically a wrapper for Fulma, not with a fun. And it doesn't like the indentation. Let's see. So basically, let's see if that actually works.
I don't think you've got the.
Let's see if I run the thing and then see if it works. So you thought it might work?
Yeah, the IntelliSense is messed for us. But then we were getting autocomplete on things it was claiming it didn't know anything about, and it was compiling for us, so. Yeah?
Let's see.
I've been known to be wrong before, but yeah.
It does seem to be happy.
Yeah. No.
No.
Containers not defined.
It's just playing the game. Okay. Right, in that case,
Here's
why
one.
don't I go back to what I prepared earlier?
Back in.
It's the-
You need to do a little NPM install that, right?
Didn't do that before.
Oh, address and use. Something.
Oh.
Right, yeah. It's, what's it like to be Node? Right, cross fingers. So yeah, so adding the reference to formula, I'm not quite sure what's going on. It looks like it's a little bit flaky in terms of getting code to actually pick up bits.
Flaky, is that some new F-sharp plugin?
Hey, flaky.
Yeah, it's from the original NPM package. Right. Okay.
Oh.
So, as you can see, it's not radically different.
Oh, have you put a progress bar in there?
I have. So, as you can see, check it out. Not only a progress bar, I've got little arrows on it as well, on the buttons.
Font Wilson?
Yes, completely fully awesome. And this is what it actually looks like.
So it's say fail, is that another package?
No, it's just a slate of lines.
Smooth.
So looking at, so this is what it looks like when it's not gone. So as you can see, it's a lot more kind of componency here, so we can find our container and content. We have an actual button here which kind of maps down to the kind of base kind of React components, which means we can add in our font awesome bits of CSS, our properties, our progress bar is really simple to set up. So that's all we needed to do, which I think is quite good.
What happens if you increment past 100?
I know. I didn't write the library. Don't write past 100.
So when writing HTML, there's desire to separate kind of the structure of the page from the code. Is that kind of something you would do here, like put the buttons in one place and then put the on-click handlers in a different place of the, in kind of in a separate place, the code in kind of separate the structure from the...
Absolutely could do. I guess we haven't done it here because we're just hacking out the code. The actual functions themselves are fairly kind of small and lightweight. Also, this is just pure F#, so we can absolutely test this in isolation with all those bits as well. So it's fully unit testable.
When I was doing Redux stuff similar to this, we just break it all out to different files and we just import them all on top.
Yeah, I think in
This is
terms of
just
that,
code, demo, hackathon, examples.
yeah, it's not. I don't think it's
Not
right.
well separated concerns.
Yeah,
So do you manage that this code can generate not only HTML, JavaScript, but say WPF?
yeah. don't know how it works. I've got a feeling it's quite experimental at the moment, but yeah, a lot of people are using this to write React Native apps, and they seem to be having quite a lot of success with that in a kind of production environment. So I guess we're kind of wrapping up now. I guess the only other thing is there is a site. So Fable Awesome has got all the links and stuff. Seems that it's got loads of stuff on it to do with Fable, to do with Elmish, to do with all sorts of bits and bobs. It's a really good resource. It also has some stuff to do with isometric Fable and F#, so that you can share your domain code between backend in .NET and the front end in F#, in JavaScript. Have a look, there's loads of really cool stuff there. Thus ends my talk on Fable.
That's
Thank
it.
you.